You hurt because you're alive.
If you're hearing our voices, that means it's time for It's This Meets That, the podcast where we watch the worst movies from trailer and credits, scene by scene. So you don't have to, but maybe you should. I'm Russ.
I'm Jared.
Yeah, you're
True
not
words.
wrong. Yeah, that's yeah. All right, so we're back with part 2 here, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Welcome to it. Thirsty Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're back. Part 2 of our full breakdown of the 2010 Zac Efron flick Romedy.
That's right.
Right? I don't know.
Romedy.
Romedy.
A lot of romance and comedy.
Charlie St. Cloud.
Yeah. Sam in a magazine.
Yeah. Same. So where would we leave off? We left off with Amanda Cruz character Tess boating off into the sunset sunrise
/ hurricane.
into the storm. Yeah. Like boating into the storm.
Yeah. Tsunami, maybe if it's the Pacific.
And Charlie just watching her go to her death, right?
That's right.
Spoilers.
Well, spoilers for in a few minutes.
Kind of. Yeah, a little bit ish. I don't know. Not really, but
I think we're back in the woods with Sam, and he and Charlie is telling Sam about the trip that she's embarking on. First leg straight to South Africa.
Yep.
It's going to be a crazy tough race. You got to watch out for icebergs.
And Sammy's not really having it because, like, clearly Charlie is now interested in something else.
Exactly.
And Sammy's kind of
Sam calls him a coward.
Yeah, straight up.
It's like, you couldn't take being alone for 6 months. He's like, sure, I could. Like,
yeah.
So you're saying if it wasn't for me, you would go? And he's like, no, not that though.
No. I love you, little buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, no. And then, they're hanging out, and he's like, then Charlie, Sammy's clearly a little angry, and Charlie's kind of egging him on. He's like, all right, man, what are you angry about? Give me your fastball. I'm gonna give you a fastball.
Mm-hmm.
And he throws a fastball and hits him in the nuts. Great
These nuts,
YouTube
fastball.
YouTube fodder. That's a strike.
Yeah. How many takes do you think they had to do that one?
So many.
Or Zac Efron.
Poor Zac Efron's nuts. And then a thunderstorm rolls in, right? Because there was a storm brewing, which we knew about.
Yep.
And it starts raining, and then we get this very strange montage.
Let the mud games begin. What?
So throughout this movie, Zac Efron, Charlie, is very into trash can lids. He loves his trash can lids. He uses them to scare the geese. Yeah, right.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah.
They're like it's like New York is a character.
Yeah,
the trash can lids are a character.
And he gets the trash can lids. He pulls the handles off them, and then turns them into like little sleds that they ride on in the rain.
Mud games.
What is happening, and why is this happening?
This scene lasts for too long, like a few minutes.
Yeah.
And they're just like sliding around in the mud, having a good time. And then it finishes with like a creepy girl statue in the cemetery.
Yeah. So
as the storm stops and like the sun comes out, like the last raindrop is like a teardrop in the statue's eye.
This is terrifying. Like, what? Like, what is
he was insane.
There was also a shot of Zac Efron going down in the mud games thing, surfing. A headstand. He was doing a headstand. Like,
I know. A loss for words.
Yes, that's the transition. And this is right about the halfway point.
Yep, exactly.
But it's such a weird thing. And so then it transitions. So we get the creepy little girl statue crying rain thing, right? And then it cuts over to
the next day.
Yeah, and it cuts to these damn geese again in front of a headstone. And then, like, comically behind another headstone off to the right, Charlie's just like pokes his head out. I was like, what is hey. It's like, what is going on?
You darn geese.
Oh my God. Now he's like, and I'm like, you're talking to dead people and you're talking to geese now, right? And then trash can lids, they come back, right? And he uses them to scare them away, right?
Yep.
All right. So this is the moment I was like,
it makes no sense.
Well, it makes no sense, but it makes sense once you get the M. Night Shyamalan twists later on.
Right.
But in this moment, I was like, what is going on? I was like, oh, I know what's going on. So he's like scaring away the geese, right? And then she's like on the other side, like of a gravestone, right? At her dad's gravestone, I think, right? And she's like, "Well, what are you doing? Like, why is this? Why is it so loud?" Right?
Like she's like waking up, and you're like,
"Yeah,
what are you doing? Sleeping in the cemetery?" You're like, it's sicko. Like,
I was like, "What's happening?" Right?
And he's like, "Oh, sorry for waking you up." And you're like,
"What?
Why aren't you asking any questions?"
Don't be sorry, be better. Ask a question here. Like, what's going on, right? Yeah. So she's got like this cut in her forehead, and she's like, and it's bleeding from her forehead, whatever. And I was like, why is this so weird? And I was like, oh, she's dead. I was like, this is the moment I was like, yeah, she's dead. I got it.
Yeah. I think her head's bleeding. Dead?
Yeah.
She's like, I hit some rough water last night.
If you wake up in a grave, if you're sleeping in a grave and then you got blood coming from your forehead, you're probably dead. So
yes, definitely.
But he's like, yeah, I can, you can come back to my place. I'll stitch you up. It looks like you might need stitches. He's kind of funny. He's like, it's kind of gross. So let's go get that taken care of.
Your face is gross. She's like, okay.
Like,
yeah.
What?
So then we cut to the cottage and he's there about to stitch her up. And she's like, is it fatal? And he's like, definitely.
Yeah.
Dead.
What? Yeah, dead. yeah, she's dead.
He's like, kind of joking. We're like, don't joke about that. And he's like, good news, you don't need stitches after all.
And then she's like poking around his place, and she sees a photo of him and Sammy, right? And she just kind of brings up a really touchy subject. She's like, so was a drunk driver? Is that why you gave it all up? I'm like, whoa, can you just pump the brakes here? Like,
she's like, your brother, is that why you gave up everything?
Is that why you gave up your life? Like, all right. Jesus.
Yeah. And so he comes out and he's like, why don't we just talk another time?
And she's like, yeah, maybe I leave in a week and I won't be back in like 6 months. Like, or maybe we can talk when I get back in 6 months. And then she leaves, right? Yeah, and he checks his sunset sharks. He's like, oh man, I want to go talk to her, but I might miss the cannon. That might go his thing, right? So he runs after her.
Yeah.
And we get the sunset cannons fire off because that's, a thing. Of course. It stops him, but he's like, he keeps going forward towards her, right? And then it's all stuff from the trailer. He's like, I know how to cook. And like, they're flirting with each other, blah, blah. And he asks her out to dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the dialogue's so bad.
So bad. And he's like, yeah, beer or wine? And she's like, surprise me? Like,
I don't
know. Those are very big different.
So dumb. It's all, but all from the trailer.
All from the trailer. And then he takes off and we're back in the woods, for creepy woods, right?
Yep. And Sam's like, you got to make pizza.
We're in the forest of death. Yeah. Yeah. Got to make your pizza.
Like, okay. And he's like, what? Pizza's delicious. Charlie's like, yeah, I know. Like, who wrote this?
he's like, Sam is like, oh, he gets real, right? And he's like, he talks about, I don't know why, but he's like,
remember I told you I kissed that girl?
Yeah. He's like, I didn't do it.
Stop being so horny, Sam.
Pump the brakes, little dude.
Yeah. Charlie's like, don't worry, you're not missing much. Girls are icky.
Yeah. And then Sam's like, oh, she a Sox fan? And he's like, oh, she's a fanatic. And then we cut right to them having dinner. And she's like, I hate baseball. And this is a great, oh my God, this whole conversation is funny. So they're going back and forth about baseball for a while, right? And then and she's like, I'm actually more of a football guy, football lady, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, I didn't take you for being a chick that would dig, necklace roided up roid heads, right? I was like,
something like that.
I was like, yeah, dude,
hairy necklace. Yeah. Because then she's like, the hairier, the better.
Yeah. I was like, what? I'm like, sorry, dude. Calling the necklace roid heads when you're a big fan of baseball. Yeah. You sure about that?
Just as much.
Oh my God. He picked wine, by the way. Just so you guys know, he picked wine.
Smart Charlie.
So then we kind of learn a little insight about he's got a bunch of like stuff from his brother's stuff, right? Boxes of baseball cards.
Are you moving? He's like, no, that's just all of Sam's stuff. She's like, I get it. I couldn't get rid of my dad's stuff either. So, like in another life, someone would ask about her dad at some point. Like, we don't know anything about what happened to her dad. But instead Charlie's just like, yeah, this one's got baseball cards. And you're like, oh, you're not going to.
Oh. Okay.
All right. I forgot. This movie's called Charlie St. Cloud, not
right. It's
not
very,
Tess.
Yeah, it's not, this is very focused on one person, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, what's the obsession with the Red Sox?" Right? And the little brother was like,
"Well, she's like, what's that? Some team out in Boston, the Red Sox. Why is he obsessed with?" And you're like, "Because we're in Quincy." Like,
yeah,
that's what threw me another loop because I was like, "Are we on the West Coast?"
I think we are, though. Like, that's the thing.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Just pick a place. Like you can change it. You don't have to have the references to the East Coast. Just change it. It's fine. Make him a Mariners fan. What does it matter? Like
so stupid.
He's into baseball. Got it.
Got it. Who cares?
Yes. Make it take place in Seattle. Call it a day.
But his backstory that he played for like a farm team for the
dad
Sox and
the father. Yeah, the father played, right?
The father, right?
He played for the Paw Sox, and that's where the obsession with the Red Sox came from.
So dumb.
But that was the last they saw him. He tried out for the Paw Sox, and then they never saw him again.
Yeah, it's just going out for a pack of Paw Sox.
just gonna go out and play catch with some professionals. Yeah. And we never saw Dad again. Mm-hmm. Tale as old as time.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back and knowing that she's currently dead, right?
Yep.
These scenes get so interesting. So she's like doing some mapping.
She's
right?
not dead. She's never dead, really.
Well, so I've got logic questions here, though.
Spirit communicating with him.
Yeah, but like now I'm like, but your brother is dead. He can't come back to life. But she's.
That's right.
I have logic issues here with this, but right.
Yes.
Right.
As you should.
Yeah. She's kind of dead. So.
Should be super dead, but
she should be super dead. She's not though, but she is, but she's not. I don't know. There's a line here. Anyway, so she's doing like mapping out, whatever, and it's all shot from the trailer. He like creeps up behind her. He's like smelling her. He's like, oh yeah, yeah. And then and she's like, they kiss, whatever, right? And she's like, what are we doing? She's like, I leave in a week. She's dead, by the way. And then she just like all of a sudden she's like, no, we can't do this, and she like takes off.
Yep. So Charlie, timing is everything. I'm sorry.
And she just leaves. Like, what is going on right now?
Well, because then
oh yeah,
there's a knock at the door.
There is a knock at the door.
Oh, she didn't leave.
And then he opens the door and there's no one there, right? And he grabs a candle and he hears voices, right? Which again, she's dead. And she's like,
find me.
I'll find you. And then this is, you think about this. I was like, you're in the creepy woods now, right? And
they're like in the
cemetery.
Like,
they're in the cemetery. I'm like,
this movie's so weird.
I was like, this is so weird. So he's
they're like chasing each other through their graves and giggling. They're like,
and there's like fog. I was like,
where's Ichabod Crane?
And like, you can't really see him. It's like kind of horror movie kind of vibe to it. And like, she sneaks up behind him and like, I was like, oh no, she's going to kill him. No, they kiss, right? I was like, this is super weird. This is definitely weird, right?
I was like, she's definitely dead, right?
Yeah.
Again, I'm like, I'm
pretty sure. And he's like, I found you. And then I think I literally wrote, I was like, oh wait, she's dead, isn't she? Like, I fucking hope so.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I was like, are they about to get it on in the cemetery? Is he?
That's right.
So now I got logistics issues here.
Yep. She undresses him in silhouette.
I was like, they're still in the cemetery.
Fade to black.
And then it opens up with on them laying in the cemetery, right?
Yep.
And
she's like, what are these scars on you? And he's like, burn marks from where the paramedic shocked me. Pretty fucked up. She's like,
they're beautiful. They saved your life.
Hardly.
What? Who? Oh my God. And then it fades out again and it opens up next morning. Charlie's shirtless, laying in the middle of the cemetery. And it's so weird. He's alone and he looks over kind of at the camera, like kind of passed through the camera. They're like, are we breaking the fourth wall right now? Because that would be amazing. Yeah. I wish he just leaned over and just looked at the camera. Was like, life moves pretty fast. No, instead it cuts over and we see the geese.
Yep.
The champions of this movie. Yeah. And he's just like,
this doesn't change anything, geese. I'm coming after you. What? Okay. So then he goes home and he like picks up a post-it note on the door and it says, come find me. And he's like, what? She's on the boat?
Yeah, and there's a boat with a little drawing, right? A drawing of a boat, and then come find me a note, right? So then he walks down to like the dock water area or whatever, and she's on a boat, and he's like, found you.
She's like, I knew you'd find me.
And then they go sailing.
This is a big sailing montage, yeah.
Big sailing montage. He's back in the boat. It's the first time in 5 years he's back in the boat, but he's technically out there by himself.
Yes.
Right? So then all the mechanics of like what she's doing to help drive the boat, is that actually happening?
He's going solo, I think.
So then we get a transition shot of the lighthouse at, of course, sunset.
Mm-hmm.
we're up at the lighthouse and they're cuddling, they're talking, right? And he's talking lines from E. Cummings, some line she said at her father's, funeral or something like that, right?
Yep.
She's talking like, oh yeah, you can come with me on my boating trip, whatever. I can have you, like, I know it's a solo thing, but you can be part of my crew, stuff like this. And he's like, I can't die. Because like the sunset.
She's like, what? You don't get days off at the cemetery? And he's like, I just can't, and then we get the cannon fire because it's sunset.
God.
And he's like, oh shit, I left something at work. She's like, I'll go with you. And he's like,
no, babe, don't come with me, babe.
Meet me at the cottage.
Yeah, I gotta go see some dead people, babe. And then we're back in the creepy woods. We're in the Death Woods, right?
Yep.
We got Sam's crying because Charlie is late, whatever, right? And it's all stuff from the trailer, and he's just like, hey, I can feel you forgetting me, blah blah blah. And he's like, you want me to go, blah blah. And Charlie's like, no, and he's like, why'd you bring her then? And we turn and we see Tess is there, right? And it's like the music and it cut to like this kind of horror suspense moment. I was like, all right, let's go all in on this, right? And then we cut back and Sammy disappears because obviously he's not there because he's dead. Mm-hmm. And Charlie's basically losing his brain at this point.
Well, yeah, and he does like a bunch of exposition. He's like, you don't understand the deal. I come and I meet Sam every day and we play catch. And don't you understand? It's the deal. And she's like, you got to let go, Charlie. And he's like, no, the more that I'm in your world, the less I'm in his, from the trailer. And she's like, well, we all have to let go at some point. But I can't. And then he kind of breaks up with her. He's, bye, Tess. Good luck with the race.
Yeah. See ya.
And she says, you didn't die in that car crash, Charlie. He says,
Actually,
I did. So dumb.
Then we cut back to Charlie house.
More brooding.
And he's sitting there drinking some whiskey. Yeah, drinking some boozy, right? And he's like, I can't come to Cape Town because I play catch with my dead brother in a graveyard.
Yep, it's as stupid as you're making it sound.
Yep. And then he's just getting boozed up and that's it. He's just talking to himself. I mean, he's actually talking to himself throughout this entire movie, really, technically. And then we cut to Tess's house. And so this is like one of those weird moments. It's kind of like the M. Night Shyamalan moment, right? It's like coming, like it's starting here. So we're at her house.
Come on, Bobo.
Yeah. And the dog gets up and it's so weird. So she goes to grab a leash to take the dog for a walk, but she's got a doggy door. So it means the dog can come in and out. This makes no sense to me. Another logic problem. And the dog just runs out through the doggy door. So clearly not listening to her because she's dead. She's not actually there. And we cut back to the caretaker house, right? And we got, Charlie waking up, whatever. And we get mom calling, leaving a message. Clearly they haven't talked in a long time. Kim Basinger. She's just leaving a message, right? And he's out of coffee. He's like, I guess I got to go into town and get some coffee. So then he goes to the coffee shop, and this kind of intercuts back and forth, right? Because this is our big moment, our big M. Night Shyamalan moment, right? So then he's in the coffee shop. Alistair shows up, right? And then we get where like Coast Guard or police officer, I don't know, they're like patrol guys, or whatever, right?
Some kind of search and rescue, yeah.
Yeah, and they show up into the coffee shop, and they cut to, and then as they show up, we cut to back to Tess.
We got a boat missing out of Quincy Harbor. Oh, okay.
Oh, all right. And then we cut to Tess, and she's walking down the street, right? And she's like, she spots a friend. She's like, hey, can you grab Bobo there? And the friend completely ignores her. Hey. Nothing.
She went missing 3 days ago.
Then we cut back. We get a more update, right? And then she stops in a store front, and she's like staring in the window, right?
And then we cut back. She's a vampire.
Yeah. Yes.
Just no reflection.
And then we cut back to Charlie in the coffee shop. He's kind of piecing it all together. And then he's just like, wait, what was the boat? And then we get the name of the boat. And it's like, oh, it's Tess's boat. And we cut back to Tess. She's staring at the window and she doesn't have a reflection because she's a vampire.
Yeah. So stupid.
And we get quick flashes.
That's the big reveal.
Yeah, big reveal. Hey, M. Night Shyamalan, I see dead people, right? Bruce Willis has been dead the entire time. And then we cut back to Charlie, and he's like...
God, I hate this scene.
Yeah, and he's like, quick flashes of him, like, watching her boat sail out. We talked about, like, a couple scenes ago, and, like, that's, that was it. Then we back to, Tess, and then that's it. Yeah. So.
Then we cut to Tess's dad's grave, where she is sitting there crying, and she's like, "Why are you the only one that can see me, Charlie?" And he's like, "Well, you're dead now. You're in the in between." He says,
"Yeah.
Like, well, you see what happens is you went out on that boat, and you never came back." And she's like, "No, but I sailed right into the storm, and I saw the light." And he's like, "Yep, everyone sees the light. I've seen that light, Tess."
You did.
She's like, "I'm so cold and scared. You were supposed to find me, Charlie. You're supposed to help me, Charlie. I can't be dead."
Charlie's got a lot of pressure on him right now between the dead brother and a dead girlfriend. So,
yeah. So then he cries and he's like, "Tess!"
He cuts back to his house and he's just tearing the place down. He's like, I'm dragging all these things out. And he's like, trashes the place. And then we get the
still a half an hour left of this movie.
Oh my God. And then there's like, and then the sunset cannons start going off again. I was like, oh my goodness. And he's crying, he's brooding, whatever. The cans keep going off. And he grabs his glove and he heads out to the creepy death woods.
And he gets there and he's talking to Sam and he's like, she's dead. She took a boat out in that storm and she never came back. And Sam's like, you still got me?
Yeah, great.
He's like, I can't you.
Yeah, bro. Thanks, but that's not really kind of covering the ground I'm thinking right now.
Gotta hate this movie.
So we cut back to the caretaker house, right? He's kind of lazily cleaning up his mess that he created, right?
And then a woman just like approaches and knocks on the door and walks into his house. And I was like, all right, maybe it's Tess, is my first thought, but it's not. Florio Ferrante's young wife.
Mrs. Ferrante.
And he's like, hey, sorry, I'm not on duty tonight, babe.
He's like, hey, babe.
No, I'm a Florio's wife. He died last night.
I'm a Florio's a babe.
Yeah. But he wanted you to have this medallion, Charlie. You're like, how do you know me? What's happening? How did you know where I live?
Oh my God.
Basically, she's just like as cryptic about it as possible. She's like,
yeah.
Claudio said he would have the answer for you. Why you? And so he starts looking at the medallion. He's like,
it's Christ?
Never seen one of these without a cross.
There's no cross on it? She's like, it's the Saint of Jude.
It's not a Christ. He's the saint of lost causes. And then Charlie's like, well, there's no such thing as lost cause. And that's what Mama Florio used to say when you drink the oil.
I wish.
So then he like picks up the picture of the boat and he's like, oh my God, come find me. And then it's like flashback to Florio and he's like, God gave you a second chance.
Billy.
And then he realizes, she's like, wait, she's not dead? How do my powers work? I thought I understood.
How does he come to this?
I don't know.
What is going on? And why couldn't Florio drop this thing off to himself? Like what? And then walk off into the woods.
Yeah.
Like get Ray Liotta. Like what it was too much to have one more scene with him.
They already met. It's like, guys, I've worked enough hours.
Holy smokes. So then we cut to the dock, right? And we got Charlie and his British buddy, or he calls his British buddy. Yeah. He's like, hey man, let's.
I wrote he finds out Allstate because at this point I had given up. So brought to you by Allstate.
So he gets to the dock, right? And he's like talking to the coach there, Tink, and he's like, yeah, man, she's so liable to run. Tink flips out and he's like, get out of here, dude. You're a crazy person.
Yeah, what are you doing?
You're a crazy person. Charlie and his buddy there, Alistair, he's like, let's just steal a boat, right? Alistair's like, I'll provide some cover here. So then they just steal a boat. And then Tink still jumps off the dock and gets on the boat. And
somehow
I was like, what? Who actually has the superpowers here?
Right. And then he calls Charlie a friggin' nut job, which you're like, you're the guy who just jumped on the boat.
Yeah. What's going on, man?
But to Coach Tink's point, he's like, you don't even know her, which is true. They've only been on an imaginary ghost date. Otherwise,
true.
They don't really know each other.
Not really. I mean, they went to high school together, but that was about it.
They weren't friends.
Yeah. Not really. So yeah. Anyways. Then we get Charlie basically convincing him that she's alive and he knows where to find her, right? So
yeah, she's like, it's been 3 days in ice cold water. Like, there's no possible way, which is the correct response.
Yes.
Like,
right. Yeah.
They're like, well, the Coast Guard gave up. You're like, the Coast Guard doesn't just give up because they didn't find you. They give up because they know that you're dead.
Yeah. Right. It's
we tried in the cold North Atlantic.
Yeah. You gone.
Where the sun always sets.
Constant sunset.
That's right.
This is actually just Truman Show. It's like all manufactured. So they're on a boat ride, and this is like kind of a montage-y thing-ish, kind of. It's nighttime. They were on the boat there going to hunt sharks, and they got the waves crashing, heavy seas,
Seas
like
rough. Yeah.
You got sea lions, and like it's like this passage of time, but it also feels like they've never left the shore because there's always like the shores right there. That's right. I'm like, how far have they gone?
That's the thing. Is like like this adventure takes over a day, I think. Total end-to-end boat trip here.
He said it was 20 miles, right? Yeah. He's like, oh, I know where she is. She's at the blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, that's like 20 miles out. And it's like,
that's not that far.
No. Like,
I think I went deep sea fishing once and we went out, I think 40 miles and it took like 3 hours, but it wasn't like all day.
And like the way this transition is going, it feels like they've been sailing for like 3 days. And it's like,
yes,
what is going on? So then Tink comes up and he's like, hey, I'm gonna take over driving. Don't worry about it. And like, go get some rest, right?
Yeah.
And then Charlie's
been up for God knows how long.
Yeah, no one can know actually.
We covered everything over to Spike Rock, and he's like he knows where that is.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
So then so he goes in the back of the boat and he sits on a chair or whatever, and Alistair's like laying down, taking a nap, whatever, and he's like, hey bud, if we turn back now, we can make it by blah blah blah, around sunset or something like that. Because because Alistair knows, he's like, hey man, I'm your mate. Like, you can tell me what you do,
What is it you do in the woods every night, man?
Yeah. I've seen you naked by yourself. Kind of weird.
And he's like, if I told you wouldn't believe me. Okay.
Yeah. I slept with my dead girlfriend, kind of.
That's right.
Who's not actually here.
Dead brother watched, maybe?
Maybe. Yeah. So he's like, whatever. And it's kind of like the moment of decision, right? He's like, do I just turn back and like stick with like I got my brother, or do I move forward? And he's like, no, we're gonna find Tess. So they move forward, right?
Yep.
And we get a transition shot. They basically sail into the sunset because it's always sunsetting.
So long.
Cannons are going off again, right? So this is his moment of like getting over the death of his brother, right? And just kind of really letting that go, right? And moving on to go deal with another death.
We see geese, classic.
The damn geese.
Yeah. We see Sam.
He's in the woods, right, by himself, and he's like asking for Charlie. He's like, Charlie. Right? And it's kind of a cut back and forth between him on the boat, heading towards the sunset, letting go, crying, back to Sam crying. He's like, forgive me, Sam. Yeah. It's very Titanic-esque, Yeah. And he's like, sorry, man. Ladies before bros,
Forgive me.
Forgive me. And then Sammy just walks into the woods, and then
he's like, I love you, Charlie. Bye. And then he starts walking,
and then it's
like flashbacks of all his memories with Charlie.
Yeah. And then it's just like, he just disappears in like a little flash.
Gets like sucked up into a little ball of light. Oh, okay.
Alrighty. So then we're on the open seas, and Charlie's, it's nighttime, and they're still on the boat, and they're like looking for things, and then,
well, it's not quite nighttime. So this is when Charlie, he
sees the comet,
looks over and sees the comet, which is, it's still sunset because it's always sunset.
Right. And so literally he sees a comet, and he's like, Sam? And it's basically pointing him in the direction of where Tess is. I was like,
those rocks over there.
Like, what? How does this science work? What is going on here?
Yeah. And again, it doesn't look that far. He can see it with his naked eye, and yet it takes
forever.
It's like pitch black by the time they get there. Yeah.
So they do find her boat, right? And he's like gearing up, gets shirt off,
and I got to take off my shirt.
Yeah, it's Jack Efron. I mean, contractually obligated to take off his shirt at least once in a movie.
He hasn't done it yet. Yeah.
He gears up, and his buddy Alistair's like, dude, don't go in there. Like, you're gonna die, whatever. Like, just wait for the Coast Guard. And he's like, nah, man. Like, if I don't do this, she's gonna die, right? And she'll never make it. And he's like, this is why I was given a second chance. And he jumps into the water.
It's so stupid. Because also, then they cut to Tink calling emergency services, and he's like, we need emergency medical assistance for one. Make it two, people. Make it two. You just made this job twice as hard for any Coast Guard people who are in Jesus. What an asshole.
Yeah,
Charlie.
So then we're like, it's just a kind of him underwater shot, him like someone to get into the boat, whatever, and the boat's like capsized, all flipped over, and he gets inside the boat, and it's just him kind of looking for stuff. Right? I was like, there's no way she's alive. There's absolutely no way she's alive.
No way.
And then he's like, he goes under again to like keep looking for her, and he gets like caught on like a cable or something, or some line or something like that. Yeah. And then he's like, I was like, oh man, maybe he's gonna die.
Naked or
and he like cuts all his gear loose, and he swims to the surface.
Yeah,
it's very weird to know where everyone is, and like the timing of this too is so strange because like he just jumped off their boat, he's in her boat, and then he surfaces, and he gets like he's on like rocks or like something like that, right? And he climbs up on the rocks, and he's kind of like bouncing around, whatever, and he starts hearing voices, right? And he spots a body, and he climbs
Come find me.
And he like, oh, it's her. And he like climbs on top of her in kind of a weird, creepy way. And I was like, this is getting weird. And then he's like, unzips her shirt and like, then pulls her close and is like cuddling with her. I was like, this is weird, but I guess I understand the body heat thing. Cause like, but it was like, this is weird. This is weird.
Yep. And like, also, she should be the deadest by now because it's been 4 days, presumably.
Yes, right?
Like,
4 days, right?
She's so dead.
She's been missing for 3, and it took them presumably a day because we've based on time to night.
Right. And unconscious with a head wound in a cold ocean on rocks. Like, she's so dead.
Like, there's no coming back from this, right?
No.
And then it's like, and there's like this weird like jump cut. So it's like there's this passing of time of him like cuddling with her and like keep holding her and stuff. Like, how much time has passed? Like the boat was right there.
Another day.
Yeah. What's happening? And then there's like a spotlight on him and it's like, oh, here's the Coast Guard now in a helicopter. And like, oh yeah. And then they're in the helicopter and you got a little mirroring image here, right? So he's sitting there and she's laying blanket over her head and everything like that, right? And her arm falls over the edge there, just like his brother did in the beginning. And he grabs her hand, whatever. And then it holds. And you're like, her fingers start moving.
Yeah. So stupid. And also like I'm glad that they were just trying to get it over with, but they super rushed the ending in this movie too.
100%. Yeah.
Everything goes into full gear and none of the timing makes any sense.
No, not one bit. So then they cut to the hospital and he wakes up.
Charlie wakes up, drinks some gin.
Yeah. Like, can you not smell that?
Because Alistair was supposed to be a Russian. And so it was like, right. It was vodka originally.
Supposed to be vodka.
It's British. Change it to gin.
Jesus Christ. So then, so he's like, yeah, Tess is fine. He's like, oh, explaining the hugging thing. So we feel less creepy. He's like, yeah, you hugging her did the trick because she had hypothermia.
So stupid.
And your body heat kept her alive. No, she's dead. He's still sleeping with a dead woman.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
And then we're a boat ride. He's kind of back in the saddle now, right? He's cruising his boat.
So in the book, I guess this period is a few months.
Okay.
It's like one of the only times in the movie they don't beat us over the head with timing but inexplicable. Yeah, it's just like he's doing boat stuff and she's like watching him on her porch.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, like, I didn't. So yeah, he boats up to the house there or whatever and she walked. It was so weird because like, wait, wouldn't you have talked to her before?
Yes. And at this point, so in the book, Charlie, it's been months and months of her being in a coma in the hospital.
Okay.
Charlie still didn't have to say goodbye to Sam yet. He like does a goodbye to Sam.
Okay.
At this point.
Yeah.
He became a paramedic. Comes to find out. Yeah. It's like a whole thing.
Jesus. Okay.
And then he's doing one last visit to the hospital.
Yeah.
And Tessa wakes up and she's like, Charlie? And then Charlie's like, well, here's what happened. And like gives her the rundown. Man. And basically she's like, well, I guess we're in love.
Like that makes more sense in terms of timing wise. Cause like in the movie, like all that is gone. And like she walks down to the dock is like, and he's like, hey, heard you were back home. He says that to her. And I was like, wouldn't what? You were just in the hospital. You asked about her and your buddy said she was fine. They didn't mention she was in a coma or like that. Right?
Nope. She's recovering. She's recovering.
Like, okay. So she'll be fine like a week or so. I can go talk to her. Like I literally just saved her life and held her hand and like, what?
Yeah. But instead she like bites her lip. She's like, oh, Charlie.
So they're like, they're nice hanging out.
You got here.
Yeah. He stole his buddy, Lieutenant Dan's Sullivan's boat there, right? I
think so. Yeah.
They're going to scrap it. He's like, no, I took it. He's like, I got a lot of work to do on it or whatever. Right. And
I got to put some flukes on it.
Yeah. The fluke out of here. Fluke you.
Yep.
And then she says the name of the movie. She's like, you saved my life, Charlie St. Cloud. And then
that's the name of the movie, which is also his name that they've been saying the whole freaking
movie. Charlie St. Cloud. I mean, all in one.
Right.
Yeah. They've been teasing it. They call him Charlie. All right, whatever, St. Cloud. And then finally, they bring it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie St. Cloud.
This is the big reveal.
And he's like, oh, you got a lot of you got a pretty good memory or something like that, right? And then
well, because she's like the fluke. She's like, that's the last conversation I remember having.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Well, we fucked.
In the cemetery. I don't know if you remember that. Do you remember that? No. Okay.
We fluked hard.
We fluked real hard. And then he was like, yeah, he's talking about how he's going to get the boat in shape and do, sail around the world once it's done, whatever, right? And and then we have a moment of like, she's like, yeah, he's like trying to get her to go in the boat, and like, she's like, it's not the water I'm afraid of, it's you I'm afraid of, right?
Yeah, which
I'm
like, wait, what? Again, what's this dialogue? And then she's like, it's you, the way you make me feel. But having these visions more vivid than any dream, and we're in them together. And then Charlie's like, they're not dreams, Tess.
They're memories.
And then he like weirdly recites that E. Cummings poem again from her father's
funeral
ceremony thing. Yeah. She's like, how'd you know that? Well, that's your dad's favorite. It's about taking chances. And then instead of asking any questions again, she's just like, Charlie.
Oh, Charlie like, St. Cloud.
Take a chance, Tess, and like offers her his hand. You're like, wait, what? And
she takes it. It's like, what?
Yep. My leg's a little wobbly. He's like, that's okay, I'll carry you. And he like abducts her. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, so that's good. So they get on the boat. And then we cut back to I think it's the caretaker house, right? And it's all packed up and cleared out, right? He's cleaning out the boxes, right? We get the sunset cannons again. And then we get him going out to the creepy woods, and he's
like hey, none of this is in the book either.
No. So this feels like
this feels just made up.
This feels like the replacing of him coming to grips with his brother. Right?
Yeah.
Like this is him like going into the woods. He's like, hey, I miss you, blah, blah, blah. And Sam shows up, but he's not really there because like he's let it go. So he doesn't see him. And they kind of have like this moment of like this conversation, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, but does he know him? Like, is the top still spinning type of moment,
Yeah.
He's like,
where in the book, and the line makes more sense. I bet they pulled this right from the book.
Yeah.
Because he's getting older. The ghost of Sam is getting older. And he's like, I'd give anything for you to get to see me, what I've become, which I took as being like super sinister of like, maybe he's like, look at my powers. Like, see what I've become.
See what I've become. Soon I shall cross over and take over the real world.
You only hurt because you're alive.
That makes so much more sense now. That line makes no sense if he's still just a kid. Yes. Like, see what I've become. Like, what have you become? That makes no sense. Like, why would you? Yeah.
A sad dead kid still? What do you mean?
Like, your slider hasn't gotten any better, so you know that. Nope. Oh my god. So then he's like, yeah, you promised to come back, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then Charlie's walking out of the woods, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, I promise, whatever. And then he walks out, slow motion walking out of the creepy woods, right? And then Tess is there. He's got a baseball in hand. Tess is there. They both slow-mo walk out into the cemetery.
Yep. So romantic.
At sunset. Well, not yet. Not quite yet, but...
Yeah.
And then that's
quick
the end.
Fade to black.
Yep, fade to black.
Well,
kind
it's
of the end,
but is it?
Is it though? And then we go to the credits, and we got like this little post-credits kind of scene going on. And it's shots of Charlie and Tess saying goodbye to everyone, blah, 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 on the boat as they sail off
Boat's all fixed up.
Yep, boat's all fixed up. And they sail off literally into the sunset.
Yep.
Because
they're like making out, doing boat stuff. It's very dumb
stuff. Fucking boat
stuff.
So
in the book, apparently, there's like an afterword that is narrated by Florio. The ghost of Florio. Which, like, why didn't they just do that? Lean into Florio.
Yeah.
And basically he explains, he's like, well, and after that, Tess and Charlie, re-fall in love again and get married and have children and a new beagle. The end. Like, that's way better.
All right. Well, that's it. That's the end of it. That's it. So I don't know. What do? We want to ameliorate here?
I guess so. Yeah. How would you improve this one?
I don't, it's so weird. It's such a weird movie. Cause it's like, I don't know. I don't know how do you lean into like the seeing dead people thing? Kind of has
more
like
Florio screen time.
Yeah, I definitely have more Florio in there. Like him handing him like his medallion, I think would have been more meaningful and it would have made more sense. Also, just like the tone of the movie is just so strange. It's like this weird line of like, yeah, you're seeing dead people, but it's not working because they're not leaning into it. Like Ghost was like, yeah, there's a dead person there, but they're leaning into it to being a suspense thing, right?
Exactly.
It's Sixth Sense. Obviously, it's a suspense thriller, right? But this is like trying to be a romance, but then have this weird this other side that's like a kind of a suspense thing, because they have this big twist that's like you got to pick. I don't know, the balance wasn't right, so I don't know how you fix that, but
I think you fix it by erasing the love story.
yeah,
Like make it about Charlie's growth, like personal growth as a character, of like he's going to sail around the world on his own now, and he's like gonna like, I think if they had done, which I know is not how the book is, obviously, but like you deviated from the book already, like
right,
just cut out the crappy parts.
Yeah, because the book probably makes sense in terms of like you said, like with the younger brother's aging as he's like, you know,
right,
some of that stuff kind of makes a little more sense. But
and I think there's double kind of imagery there too, of like he's continuing to age as a ghost, even though Charlie's kind of stuck in time and what he's been doing, and kind of like it makes it way more meaningful if you do that. Focus on Charlie. Like Zac Efron's a good actor. Like I don't know,
he could he held his own.
This movie had a bunch of good actors. Like sorry, Amanda Crew, but like get out of here with that nonsense. Give her a bit part, and like give me Ray Liotta, give me Kim Basinger,
Kim Basinger,
whatever her name is. We'll never know.
Sorry, we'll never know. Sorry, Kim.
But like focus on all those things instead of give us like actual Charlie story, instead of being like making it kind of a half-ass thing about the little brother and the love interest, which is annoying.
Yeah, I think you're right, because like even with the scene with Dave Franco when he came with Dress Blues thing, I thought that was interesting.
Even more
like,
Dave Franco. Yeah,
like I mean, I thought that was interesting. Like, and it, I think you're right. Like, focus on more on him and less on the actual love story, because that's just like, I get it. Like that's the vehicle for him to get out of his grief and like, oh, I need to find something to move on, and live my life. But you can do that without having someone else. Like you could just
make it about sailing.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean,
his other love.
Yeah, like
as we know.
Yeah, like you know, just yeah. So yeah.
Ugh, what a crappy movie.
Yeah.
Listeners, don't, unless you like love Zac Efron, don't bother watching it.
Yeah, you can skip this one. That's fine, unless you're really into sailing too and you want to like pick that apart. But I don't know. There's only two really hardcore sailing scenes. That's about it. So
or Vancouver.
Yeah, if you're into Vancouver, check that out.
Yeah.
If you're into Massachusetts, don't watch this because it doesn't take place there. So
that's right.
Right. So
that's right.
I don't know. Is there anything else? Anything else we do there? Or that's it?
Yeah, I think we wrap it up.
I think we do. All right. Well, thanks for listening. That's it. We're done. We'll be back next week with a new movie. Meantime, follow us on Instagram. It's This Meets That. We're ITMT Pod on the website formerly known as Twitter. Subscribe wherever you're listening. Find us on YouTube and share with a friend. So,
or share with your enemies.
That's fine too.
We like that too. Or complete strangers, leave us a review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify lets you review stuff. Any of that would be nice. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Or you can send us long form feedback. Write us an email. Read them in trailer trash, like we always do. It's justmeetsthat@gmail.com. Or go to the website. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff that you can't possibly imagine until you get there. Really, like hard to put into words.
Yeah, you're speechless. I can hear you.
Yeah. It's thismeetsthat.com, and there's the link to the t-shirts and the old episodes and all of those unspeakable horrors. Check it out.